Hello, a lovely warm welcome to Tax Chat, a program brought to you by Zambia Revenue Authority, ZRA, a program that makes tax matters easy for you to understand. And today we are looking at one of the main topics that affects many of us, whether you are buying land, selling a house, gifting property, or even entering into a long-term lease. Our topic today is property transfer tax, commonly known as PTT. Now, here's the thing. Many people complete a property deal and assume everything is done, but later on, they run into serious challenges because the transfer process was not properly completed. Others underestimate property values or misunderstand exemptions, which can lead to unexpected tax bills and penalties. So today's program could save you money, time, and legal trouble. And helping us look at this topic in studio with me is Mrs. EVELYN MWALUSAKA and Mr. EDWIN BWALYA from Zambia Revenue Authority. Madam MWALUSAKA and Mr. BWALYA, good to have you on this program.
Thank you, Alice, and good morning, and good morning to our dear viewers today. It's always a pleasure to be here.
Yes.
Good morning, Alice. It's good to be here. I've been here for, I think now almost a month. I haven't been here. So good morning to our listeners and good morning to our viewers.
Yes, it's always great having you on this show.
Yeah.
Yes, our topic today is property transfer tax. And we want to find out, starting from the basics, what exactly is property transfer tax? Tikamba chani tikakamba pali property transfer tax.
Thank you very much, Alice. That's a very important question. So what do we say or tikamba when we talk about a property transfer tax? So property transfer tax is a tax that is charged whenever ownership is changed or changes hands in Zambia. So the key word there is in Zambia. If you sell property in Zambia, you need to make sure that a property transfer tax is submitted. So it can be through a gift, or it can be through a sale or inheritance, or even any leases that is done. So this property transfer applies to different properties, and these include land and building. We've got mining rights. We've got intellectual property. We also have shares in the company. Now, from what I've just mentioned, let me look at land and building. So when we talk of land and building, what do we mean? So when we talk of land and building, we are saying that the property that is located in Zambia, whenever you are doing property transfer, just know that when we talk of land and building, it's the property that is located in Zambia. And this could be a residential, maybe it could be commercial or industrial. Now, it's very important to notice that any person that is transferring property, it's supposed to submit a property transfer return. Whether you're going to submit it yourself or you're going to submit it on behalf of someone else, it's important to ensure that a property transfer tax is submitted to Zambia Revenue Authority.
Okay.
Yes.
Edwin, the big question that taxpayers often ask, what is the current property transfer tax rate?
Thank you, Alice, for that question. A very, very important question. So it's important for taxpayers to know that currently, for land and building, the rate for property transfer tax is at 8%. However, this 8% is not always based on the price stated in the contract. Okay, I'll give an example. Alice, you are selling land. Okay, so you and I, you the buyer, me the seller, will agree on the selling price. But it's not always that that selling price is what the property transfer tax 8% to be taxed on. It is taxed on the assessed value that is done by us as ZRI, which reflects the actual market value. So the current property transfer tax rate is currently at 8%.
Okay.
For land and building.
Oh, all right. What should someone do when they want to transfer property?
Thank you, Alice. I think that's a very important question that you brought. So if someone wants to transfer a property, the first thing that they're supposed to do is to file in a property transfer tax, which we call PTT.
Okay.
So the first thing that they're supposed to do is to make sure that they have the details of the buyer and the seller. They also need to have the description of the property, the value of the property, and the transaction. What type of transaction are you doing? Remember, we mentioned that there's land and building, there's shares in the company, there's also mining rights. So when you are doing that transaction, you have to make sure that you tell us the type of transaction that you are doing. Now, this PTT, property transfer tax, it's a very straightforward, Alice, very straightforward to submit. What you need to do is a person is supposed to transfer is called a transfer, or the one who sells the property. So if you are the one who is selling the property, you are the one who is supposed to submit that PTT return. So the transferor is supposed to submit it via the ZRI web portal. Then from there, all the values are supposed to be in kwacha. When you declare those values in kwacha, the ZRI will do an assessment. When they do an assessment, they'll send a notice of payment. After the notice of payment is sent, then you know that now you're supposed to do payments. Once you do the payments, now you are going to receive a PTT clearance certificate. It will be generated by the system and it will be sent via email. So there's no need for you to come to ZRI unless otherwise there's something that has gone wrong and you're unable to receive that PTT tax clearance certificate. So what we are saying now is that make sure that when you are doing a transaction of the PTT, the taxpayer is supposed to submit a property transfer tax. Please, this is very important. I'm emphasizing. Whenever you are transferring property, make sure that you submit a tax clearance, a PTT certificate to ensure that the formalities has been done in short.
Okay.
Yes.
Maybe pamene hapo Madam MWALUSAKA, maybe mukuchita understand veva malipila PTT ni vabaya olo vasela. Maybe you could even manage to understand my viewers.
Okay. I think that's a very important question, Alice. Baja bamene bagulisa my properties. Like I said, the person who is supposed to submit a PTT return is the seller, not the buyer. So remember I talked of having the details of the buyer and the seller. So it's the seller who is supposed to submit a return. And there's one thing that I want to mention to say that for transactions that are done in a foreign currency, the taxpayer is supposed to use a Bank of Zambia rate before the submission of the PTT return. If there's nothing, then you go with what is prevailing at that point. So that's very important. If you're using a foreign currency, make sure that the taxpayer uses the Bank of Zambia rate before the submission. But if at that point nothing has been availed, make sure that you use what is prevailing. Yes.
We often hear that applications are delayed because of missing documents. Or what should taxpayers prepare? What kind of documents? My documents here prepare. Edwin.
Thank you, Alice, for that question. It's actually correct. So sometimes the process, quite right, yes, it's delayed, and in some cases we have some rejections. This is why it's important at first that you always present correct documentations. So we have mandatory documents that are required for you to process the property transfer tax. Number one being the state consent to assign, which can be collected from Ministry of Lands. We also have a contract of sale, or rather a letter of sale. Then thirdly, we have a tax clearance certificate, the one Mrs. MWALUSAKA is just from talking about. So both on the buyer side and the seller's side. Then you can also add additional documents depending on your case. So you can add evaluation report. That's if the transaction exceeds 700,000. Then you can also add a deed of gift in a situation where you're gifting the property. Additionally, you can also add an order of appointment in a case where the seller is deceased. Then lastly but not the least, you can also add marriage or birth certificates where it's in a situation of family property transfers. So I'm trying to emphasize to you, our dear taxpayers, that at first point, let's present correct documentation to avoid delays and also rejections of the property transfer returns that we submit.
Okay. Nanga, how does ZRA determine how much tax someone should pay?
Okay, so that is also another very important question. So many times taxpayers will ask, how do ZRA come to arrive to the taxes that we pay on property transfer tax? So ZRA uses the realized value, that is a market value in short. So for example, if a taxpayer submits a PTT return, even when you are going to submit a lower value, at that point, we are going to use the market value that is prevailing at that time. You can submit a lower value. We are also going to use the market value. So it's important to know that we use the market value. For example, if a taxpayer declares that the property is 500,000, and then when you look at the market value, what is prevailing? So if it's 700, then ZRA is going to use that 700. So I'm urging our taxpayers to say that when you are submitting the PTT return, it's not that amount. For example, maybe you bought a vehicle, you bought a house or a land a long time. Then now when you are transferring that property, in your mind you are saying, because I bought it at 200 kwacha, so what I'm going to declare is what I'm going to pay. So we are saying, no, we are using the market value. So make sure that this is back of your mind each time you are doing it. It's the market value that we use. It doesn't matter what value you have at that point, which you declared. So we use the market value in short.
Okay.
Yes.
In case you're just joining us, you are watching Tax Chat, and today we are looking at property transfer tax, PTT. To talk to a ZRA, you can call on their toll-free number, which is 111. For your comments and contribution, you can write to us, those that are following us on Facebook or YouTube, or you're watching us on Lumen TV, Top Star Channel 101, or you're following us on Azam TV. You can send in your contribution and we'll definitely respond to you. For now, we go on a short break. We'll be right back. Don't change the channel.
Today, you probably helped save a life. Or perhaps helped keep a watchful eye on a neighborhood. Today, you probably helped put food on someone's table. Or help build a road that leads to a destiny. You may have even helped shape the minds of our future. By paying your taxes, you help keep critical medical staff in a job, a school to run, or a neighborhood safe, and a whole lot more. Your taxes help Zambia become better for you and me. Zambia Revenue Authority. My tax, your tax, our destiny.
Welcome back. Here watching Tax Chat, a program brought to you by Zambia Revenue Authority, ZRA, in order to make your tax matters simple for you and I. And today we are looking at property transfer tax, PTT, and helping us look at that is Madam MWALUSAKA and EDWIN BWALYA. To dive into another question, Edwin, many people may not know this. Does a PTT apply to REIS?
Precisely, Alice. It does.
Okay.
So if the lease exceeds 5 years, PTT is applied. I would give a general example, Alice. You own this building, okay, and you've decided to lease it for, let's say, 10 years. So what will happen is that ZRA will calculate the market value of that lease, and property transfer tax will be charged at 8% of the assessed value. So property transfer tax will be charged on the market value and not on the rentals that are being paid on that lease. So this is very important. It's important for a taxpayer to know that even land and buildings that are leased out and that are exceeding 5 years, PTT is applied.
Are there any exemptions from property transfer tax? Could you call my exemptions? Could you property transfer tax, Madam MWALUSAKA?
Oh yes, I think that is also another very important question. There are exemptions when it comes to property transfer tax. So let me just give you the exemptions that are given when you're transferring these properties. So we have the government of Zambia, they are exempted. We have the international organizations, these are also exempted. We also have the approved benefit PBOs, we call them PBOs, the benefit organizations. Those also are exempted. And also we have the approved international organizations. So these categories are exempted from PTT, paying PTT. So other than that, we have the other exemptions. For example, Aris, if maybe your parents had some assets, some buildings or houses, and they decide to say, okay, we are going to give our children or my children this property, or you've gifted them. So these gifted properties are not supposed to pay tax, the PTT tax. And we have those who inheritance. Even those are not supposed to pay PTT. So we have the other, the ones I've talked about, the government and the international organizations, the PBOs, public benefit, and that is the approved together with the others, which is someone has gifted a child, someone has inherited a property, they're not supposed to pay tax. Now, however, this is very important. Even when we are talking of that, these are exempted, but they're supposed to submit a proper transfer tax. A return is supposed to be submitted just to formalize. Yeah, so it doesn't mean that because I've gifted my son, maybe there's something that's on got through inheritance, then it means that a proper transfer tax is not supposed to be submitted. No, you need to still submit a proper transfer tax. Yes.
Okay. Nanga ma common mistakes emne mapanga ma taxpayers niya bwanji.
Thank you, Alice. Yes, it's true. Some of our taxpayers ma mistakes as they are trying to process the property transfer tax. So number one common mistake yaningakambepo ni undervaluing the property. So it can but undervaluing property. So in this case, you're a taxpayer, then you declare a property at a value that is lower than the actual price. Maybe at least you want to sell the property. Instead of kufaka po 1 million, imamkonda to kusell mafaka po ati inyumba taigulisa pa 500,000. So that's the other mistakes that some of our taxpayers make, which is not supposed to be the case. Because in such a situation, like I said earlier, it delays the process, and also sometimes the return is rejected. Yeah. The second common error that we have is also incorrect classifications. What do I mean when I say incorrect classifications? So you find that maybe was categorize the property in a wrong class. So let's say Alice, instead of combat property ni residential mwakambati ni commercial, or instead of saying ni commercial mwakambati ni residential. So those are some of the common errors that arise as taxpayers try to file this property transfer tax return. The third common error, or rather mistakes that our taxpayers make, is also not declaring long-term leases. I'm just from talking about leases. So I said after, if a lease exceeds 5 years, PTT is applied. But some taxpayers don't declare when a lease is over 5 years. So you find that they've put a property under lease and it's exceeding 5 years, but they don't file a PTT return. So that's also another common mistake that taxpayers make. Then we also have mismatched personal details. So you find a situation whereby our taxpayers on the document, it's showing that the name on the document is different. It's something else than what's on the titles. Yes. So even that is also some of the common mistakes that our taxpayers make. So we are encouraging our taxpayers to ensure that as they file this property transfer tax return, to ensure that the classification of the property is correct, the value of what they're declaring is also correct, information that they're presenting is as what's on their personal details and also what's on the document. So those are the common mistakes that I can speak about. Then I would also like to just highlight that we now have our system as linked with Zilas. Okay, so we are now able to receive information in real time, information pertaining to property details, information pertaining the price of that property at which it was sold. So we are saying ZRA has been integrated with Zambia integrated land administration system. So we are receiving information in real time.
Okay. Nanga, why is it important for buyers to complete a property transfer tax, Madam MWALUSAKA?
So it's very important that a buyer completes the proper transfer tax because if I can just give you an example, Alice, if you buy a property and then you just maybe do it verbally, you go and see Mr. Banda. Mr. Banda says, I'm selling a property, and then you decide to buy, but you don't even go and formalize that property. It means that you're not going to own that property. There will be no legal ownership on that property, isn't it? So you need to own the property. So what we are saying is there's a risk in that. In case of a dispute, how are you going to defend yourself? You don't have any documentation to show that, yes, I bought this property from Mr. Banda and the property transfer was done. So it disadvantages someone in case there's a dispute. The other thing is, in case you want to sell that property, you want to sell it to someone. If you didn't formalize, you don't have any documentation, it will be very difficult for you to go ahead and do the selling of that property, because you didn't follow the procedure. You didn't do any transferring of that property when you got it from the other person. And there are times when you find that maybe someone bought a property from maybe way back, and that property was not transferred as I was selling it to Alice. So you, Alice, now you decide to sell it to BWALYA. So when you come to ZRI, we'll start from there. You bought it from Mr. Banda. Did you do a property transfer? No. So we'll tell you to say from Mr. BWALYA, let a property transfer be done. Then from you, Alice, and then to now BWALYA, you have to do a property transfer. So in short, we are saying that it's a legal obligation, to own something. You just feel that, okay, I own this by formalizing it. Then we are talking of the title deed, which is a very important document. For you to be given that title deed, you need to do the process. You need to formalize the process. So this we are urging our taxpayers to say, in as much as you are doing this business, please remember that there's a property transfer tax that is supposed to be done, so that you are given that a tax clearance certificate for property transfer tax. So it's very important, Alice. Yes.
Your concluding remarks, Madam MWALUSAKA, on property transfer tax.
So to my taxpayers, our lovely taxpayers, we are urging our taxpayers to say that as you do this property transfer, as you are selling the property, make sure that you come through to ZRA, you formalize the process. Formalize the process so that you have the legal ownership of that property, so that you don't find yourself in situations where you don't even you don't even know what to explain when you are asked, how did you get this property? Because like I said, you don't have any documentation to show that I bought this property from Mr. Banda and the transfer of the property was done, formalize everything. So what I'm urging our taxpayers, another thing is make sure that you have a TIN, of course, and the credentials. The credentials are very important because remember we said that the transferor is the one who is going to file in or submit a return. So make sure that you have the credentials at the point that you're going now to submit a return. So to our lovely taxpayers, please make sure that you follow the procedure when it comes to property transfer tax.
Okay.
Thank you.
Your concluding remarks, Edwin.
Thank you, Alice. I think to add on to what Mrs. MWALUSAKA has said, I think we're appealing as ZRA to you, our taxpayers, the general public, to help protect government revenue by simply demanding for a smart invoice receipt. And before I urge the general public, Alice, do you demand for a smart invoice?
Believe me, I do demand for it.
Great. So actually, in the same vein, we are running a program called the Tenga Reward program.
That's a reason why I demand for it.
Yes. So just recently, if you've been following the trade fair, we had a number of taxpayers that were awarded prizes. So you could be maybe the lucky winner as well when the show in August starts. So we urge our general public to please demand for the smart invoice receipts every time they make a purchase, because by doing so, you are protecting the government revenue. So for further information, if you'd like to reach us, if you'd like to find out more on the topic of discussion for today, property transfer tax, you can visit your nearest ZRA office, or if you're unable to come to our offices, you can simply call us on our toll-free number, which is 4111, or you can simply reach us through our official website, which is www.zra.org.zm. Or if you can't reach us on those platforms, you can also reach us through our official email, which is advice with a C at zra.org.zm. We are simply saying it is my tax, your tax, our destiny.
Well, Mrs. MWALUSAKA and EDWIN BWALYA, it's been a pleasure having you on Tax Chat.
Thank you,
so
Alice.
much.
They say what goes up must surely come down. We've come to the end of the show. I believe you've learned one or two things about property transfer tax, PTT. Don't forget to tune in again next time as we bring to you another exciting topic. On behalf of Mrs. MWALUSAKA, Mr. BWALYA, and myself, Alice Lungu, we are saying, remember, it's my tax. Your tax, our destiny.